Hello creative friends, it's me Bondi. Well, lounge sessions, what the hell is that? Let me explain. Basically, during the day I don't have that much time to play anymore because my mixed media store is keeping me quite busy and I have such an amazing bunch of lovely customers. I love them to death. But basically I don't have as much time as I used to create tutorials and free videos and that sort of thing, but I do still create most days in my other secondary studio, which is in my lounge. Welcome to this corner of my lounge. I try to tuck all my stuff in one corner because it does take a bit of space. But basically, all these days of me playing in my studio up here in the lounge have, got me thinking it's just a little bit annoying. I can't share all this stuff with you because it's just not as set up or as well set up as I normally do in my other videos. The lighting's not great. Well, it is now because it's daytime, but most of my lounge sessions are going to be filmed in the evening, so it's a little bit more, a little bit darker, I guess. And so the lighting's not always great. You'll be able to see the leg of the tripod in the corner. It's not going to be as polished as my regular videos. Basically, they're going to be left raw, meaning I'm going to do less editing, and that means I have more time to actually get those videos out and share them with you. So basically, lounge sessions, which are my mixed media play in my lounge, are going to be a little bit different. They're going to be about me finishing up some pages I started. I may have some stuff on the background that I haven't done anything yet with. It could be some new stamps or new products that I just got and that I want to experiment with and play, see what they do. It's not going to be basically anything like from start to finish. It might sometimes, but not always. It's just going to be sort of bits and pieces, which are going to be a bit more realistic because they are filmed as I play in my studio. I will try to cut out all the really boring drawing stuff and, things you don't really need to have on the video, obviously. But basically, this secondary studio that I have, which is a bit more compact, is also a little bit different in the way that I've split all my supplies into two. So all my tubes of paint and inks and all of that are in my other studio, my main studio downstairs where I teach also. But up here, I didn't want to have to buy all my supplies again just so I could have everything up here, but I didn't want to give up anything else either. So what I did is that I transferred most of the contents that I could into smaller containers. So I will show you in a moment most of the supplies that I use so you get an idea of what I'm doing in the videos, but just be aware that because I do want to be able to share all this with you, but without having too much time to spend editing and all of that, none of the lounge session videos are going to have a list of supplies. I'm not going to answer questions about what I'm using here or there because it's not what it's about. It's just about showing you what I'm doing and in a bit of a more raw format, I guess. But and I'm not going to answer all questions and comments as much as I would with my other videos. Again, just to cut down on time and being able to still share all my creation process or my creative process with you. So I hope that it'll be something that you'll enjoy, even though it's a lot less polished, and that you still find some inspiration here and there. And just know that pretty much all the supplies that I use in my videos, whether I list them or not, are available in my store, the Mixed Media Store. I know the name is simple, but sometimes it's just best to know what you're getting up front, which is a bit like me, really. There's nothing hidden or, it's just what you see is what you get. So you'll find them in my store. And if you have any particular question about a product, then contact me through the store at mixedmediastore.com.au. Now I'm going to show you roughly the supplies that I use. So because you might see some of it come back here and there in the videos, in those lounge sessions videos. But obviously some of them you won't really know necessarily because I've transferred the content to a different kind of bottle. So it doesn't really have any packaging basically. So basically that's all I wanted to sort of explain, how the lounge session videos are going to be different. So no list of supplies, more raw format for the videos, a bit of camera movement. Sometimes it wobbles a little bit. You might see the tripod, and you know, it's not as nice as a properly edited video, but still hopefully some fun content for you. Okay, so this is roughly how the lounge session videos are going to be filmed, with the tripod on the side or near here, so you can roughly see what I'm doing. And let me try to go through most of the supplies that I will be using, which are basically the supplies I use most of the time. So let's start with the paint. So my favorite paint is the Liquitex Basics in the 118 ml tubes. And what I've done is that I've transferred all my favorite colors to a smaller palette. So let me find it. So I think it's this one. Yes. So I've transferred most of my favorite colors to a small palette. So I've got a little bit of each in here, and I can dip my fingers in there very quickly. And basically, instead of having 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, possibly 24 tubes of paint taking space on my desk, I only have this little box. So that's one way that I reduced the real estate on my secondary studio desk. So that's for the paint. Sometimes I use dilution paints. You know what they look like. I don't have them right here, but I don't have them on my desk. Paint, I think that's the main one anyway. I've got also, if you see me spray something, most likely it will be acrylic paint in a liquid format. This is called Marabou Art Spray, and it's just a little bottle. You might see me shake and just spray, and there's a whole lot of colors, so that's one thing that is sprayable. Another thing that I might be spraying is some liquid watercolors. So I've got watercolors that are diluted in water and that I've transferred into small spray bottles like these. So that may be something that I'm spraying. Some of them are metallic and some of them are just regular. I also use liquid watercolors in tubes like this, again, that I've transferred from a bigger bottle into a sort of pen kind of, you know, format, I guess, with a tip. So that's something you may see me use. What else do I use a lot? If you see something shimmery or metallic, it could be something like Inca Gold, which comes in a jar like this, a whole lot of colors. Again, I have transferred some of those colors into smaller containers like this, just to save on space, and the bigger containers are downstairs in my main studio. I just unscrew them and I've got a little bit in here. And I also have them in another palette, same as the paints, but this is my metallic, not that one, my metallic palette. Let's start again. So this one has got a little bit of Inca Gold in there, and it's got some Liquitex Basics copper and gold and silver, also some Pebeo iridescent colors, which have the two-tone iridescent colors. One of my favorite paints that I've been using for many years. And these fluorescent paints are also by Pebeo. So that's that. And these are used mostly as accents, really, the fluoros and the iridescents and the metallics. Something else that may be metallic that you might see me put on my pages is in a little bottle at the moment, but it's called Opal Dust by Joe Sonia. Again, something you can find in my store if you want to have a look. And speaking of metallics, the Marabou Art Sprays also come in silver and gold, so that might be something that I'll also use in my videos. Inks, of course. How can you do without inks? My favorite ones at the moment are the Distress Oxides. So, well, these ones I couldn't transfer into smaller containers. They don't come in minis either, so full size it is. And I've got a whole range of the little ink blending tools ready, one per color. I just gave up one day and decided just to stop switching those little foam pads and just have one handle for each color. That's why you see all of these. All of these are distress oxides, and all of these are just the regular distress inks. So speaking of that, I use also distress inks occasionally. I've got the minis here just again to save some space on my desk. I'll also use, of course, I've been using those forever, Stays On inks. Usually the darker colors, so in jet black, dark gray, dark purple, dark blue. I've used also a few of the Ranger archival ink. I have a few of the big size pads, but on this desk I mostly use the minis that I've got in here. And going back to shimmer, because it's something that I love, anything shimmery and metallic and sparkly. This is something I also use quite a bit these days, and this is the Metallic Pastel Accents palette by Prima Marketing. So if you see me use something like that, this is what it is. I have regular watercolors in pans as well. They're Prima Confections, but I don't often use them, of course, on my journal pages because they disappear a little bit. And then that's pretty much it, I think, for inks and paints and metallics. Actually, I do use sometimes liquid inks. So usually the FW Delarani brand. So I've got a fluorescent pink here, but I also have a lot of the pearlescent ones. I absolutely love them. And I also use Bombay India ink sometimes. So these are the full bottles, which I normally keep in my primary studio. But up here I have them in smaller bottles. So it will be sometimes a spray bottle or a bottle with a tip. So I'll just reduce this to this basically, and this teal bottle to a little spray. So it's not much, but it's enough to keep me going for a little while, and I just refill as I go along. What else? You might see me use also, very rarely, but sometimes, I guess, the Enamel Accents by Ranger, and also the liquid pearls. So if you see me use a little bottle like that, it could be liquid pearls or the enamel, or it could also be stickles. If it sparkles, then I love it. So that's it for that. What else? In terms of support, I usually paint either on loose sheets of paper on cardstock, sometimes on photo paper, sometimes on shipping tags, and sometimes, of course, in pre-made art journals, but sometimes in my own as well that I make, and on daily paper, of course, sometimes. Now for pens and markers, I love using Posca pens, like so, and also I sometimes use the Sharpies, but not so much sometimes, as well as the Jane Davenport paint over pens. And what else in terms of markers? Also the Sharpies, the fine tip. It's got some beautiful pastel colors that are great for journaling. And in white pens, sometimes I use my Sharpies, which also come in black, and the Sakura Jelly Roll. And most often I will use the Signo Uniball pen. Now, what else? Occasionally I will use Mermaid markers by Jane Davenport, these ones, and the Tombow dual brush markers. Let me find the front of it. Okay, and I think that covers most pens that I use and markers. I've told you about the paints, I've told you about the inks, and stencils and stamps, of course. A lot of them, a lot of the supplies I just mentioned, so pretty much all of them are available in my store, as I said. And in terms of stencils and stamps, most of them are available also in my store, but some of them will not because I bought them many moons ago and sometimes I don't know or remember where from, so there might be some oddballs in there. And that's pretty much it, friends. So I hope that gives you an idea of what you might see me use in the video. I understand it's not going to be very clear what I'm using, but again, remember, it's not about what I'm using, but more what I'm creating and sharing that process with you. Hopefully you'll enjoy this. Thank you. Bye.